Hello, thank you for joining us today in our series, The Priority of Prayer. I wanted to start today off with a quote from John Wesley. It says, "God does nothing but in answer to prayer." This is a direction that I would love for us to go today of why don't we make prayer a priority in our everyday lives. John Wesley was quoting this for us to understand something, that God will move in our lives because we've been in prayer with Him. When we begin to make prayer a priority in our life, we will begin to see God move. I don't know about you, but I desperately need God in my everyday to-day life. I remember as a 17-year-old where I began to make prayer a focus in my life. And here's where it came from, and here's where I've continued to make prayer a priority in my life. It came out of this. I am desperate to hear from God. I began to figure out at a young age that in order for me to be who God was calling me to be, I needed to hear from Him every single day. I wanted to be in conversation, but I needed Him more than I wanted. I needed Him to influence my life, to give me the strength that I needed to get through the day, to be able to be the person who is loving and kind and patient and gentle. I began to learn and understand that as I looked around in my life of men and women who loved God and who reflected the love of Jesus in their everyday life, how they raised their family, how they interacted with people in the church, how they were involved in their community, they all had one thing in common. They had a strong prayer life. And that motivated me and moved me to want to have the same thing. In fact, I believe that many of us who have a prayer life are doing it for two reasons. First and foremost, we are in desperate need of hearing from our Father. For us to be who God is calling us to be, we need to be in relationship with Him and allowing ourselves to find space and time in order for us to hear from Him. In fact, Jesus did this Himself. In Mark chapter 1, verses 35, it says, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, went off to a solitary place, and prayed. You see, Jesus, being both man and God, still knew that He needed to make prayer a priority. And I believe it was more a necessity, a desire, more than a want. He needed to be with His Father. And I believe that the more we fall in love with God, the more we understand that He's calling us to be someone, we are in need to find and to talk to Him. And then, because out of love for Him, we want to be with Him. And that's the second piece of I've learned in our relationship with God and finding time in our lives to be in prayer with Him, our need turns to a want. I want to be with Him. I can't wait to be with Him. It is part of who I am. There's a draw, a desire, a love, a need, a want to be in relationship with God through prayer. So my ask for you today is this: where is your want and need for prayer in your life? Why is prayer not a priority in your life? And to be honest, is it because there is no need for Him? That you are able to go and do your day-to-day thing without Him? My second question then would be, how do you live in such a way where you find that you need to be in relationship through prayer with God? My challenge for you is for you to answer that question. Why is prayer not a priority in my life? My prayer life started out of a need, a desperation, and it turned into a want, a love, intentional relationship with my Father. The same as I have for those relationships that I have physically in my life, my wife and my kids. I want to be with them because I love them. I desire to be next to them. There's a pull, a drive, a desire, a love to be in relationship with my wife and kids, as it same and goes even more so with my Heavenly Father. If Jesus was in need of being with the Father in order to do his ministry, to do his day-to-day work, so should we, correct? And the other thing I want to challenge you on is, will you make prayer a priority this week at least 4 times? Because here's the thing that I want you to do. I want you to make prayer a priority because there's a need and a want. It's not even a thing I think about anymore, to be in prayer with God, because I want to be with him. I think about it as soon as I wake up. Now that is because I've made it a routine, a practice, a discipline. And I don't know what I would do with my life if I didn't have that. And remember, I made this a routine, a decision in my life before I was a pastor. So I can't play the pastor card here. I wanted and needed him in my life because I knew I was needing to be someone that I wasn't. And in order for me to be who I knew I needed to be, I was in desperation mode to be with the Father. And in that, I developed a relationship with him where I wanted to be in relationship with him because I loved him. And I want the same thing for you. So will you ask yourself, why is it that prayer does not need to be a priority in my life? And second, will I make it a prayer in my life at least 4 times this week? I want you to see what happens in your relationship with him. Your want and your need to be with him will change because you and the Father will become one. And that's my hope and my desire, is for you to be more like Jesus. And you're able to do so because you made prayer a priority in your everyday life.